Hi everyone. We've already covered the parts of a proposal in our previous weeks and activities, so now we're going to focus on putting them together into the infographic. We want our infographic to look nice, so we'll need to learn about document design. Document design is everywhere. It is the rhetorical choices we make for formatting a document, so an essay, art piece, or even architecture and music. Rhetorical here, remember, relates to how an author manipulates a piece to meet the needs of a message and audience. The goal of document design is to make information accessible and attractive. We want people to read and understand the piece, and we also want people to find it beneficial or enjoyable. So how do you do document design? You first manipulate or use the elements of design. These tools include lines, colors, shapes, and space. If you look at an essay you've written, it can honestly be boiled down to these tools. Everything, the letters, the paper itself, is just lines, shapes, color, and space. Now, how do you make these tools good or use these tools well? You follow the principles of design. These tried and true methods of alignment, repetition, balance, and contrast let us have a more complete and enjoyable piece. Let's look at those in more detail. First is the principle of alignment. The principle of alignment values hierarchy and movement. When information is aligned, our eyes can more easily track, organize, and follow the information. An example would be indenting a paragraph. This automatically tells the reader where ideas start and stop. Lists and headers are also good for this. When you see a bullet point list, you know where main ideas and supporting points are. Headers make information easy to find. Images, too, help us move between text and graphic. Readers want organized information like this. Let's look at the image for the Beatles on the lower right. Where do you see alignment in this graphic? Next is the principle of repetition. This principle values consistency and stability. This primes the reader's brain so they know what to expect and trust. This can be as small as the font type, color, and size. All of your academic papers have probably been in Times New Roman size 12, right? Another example would be the layout of a paper and the page numbers in the corner. I know as a reader there won't be any surprises like extra pages or content. With layout, the reader knows where to find information and where to look. Try this with the image again from the Beatles in the lower right. Where do you see repetition? Then we have balance. The principle of balance values harmony and connection. We want pieces to flow. The rule of thumb for balance is that anything that is colorful, big, or strange has more weight in a piece. Our eyes are more attracted to things like this, so we have to balance that out with something simple like simple text or graphics. It'd be hard to read a paper that is all red font, or it'd feel like an interruption if a giant graph or image took up half the page. Again, let's practice with this image on the lower right. Where do you see balance? Last, we have the principle of contrast, which values emphasis and readability. When components contrast, the reader can separate content from background. This can be with white space, such as margins or double spacing in an academic essay. It can also be with bolding. Think of how easy it is to go through a textbook and find glossary terms when they are bolded. Again, let's look at the image on the lower right. Where do you see contrast? Knowing these principles too, let's practice with the PowerPoint slide itself. You can be honest, this PowerPoint so far has been a visual nightmare. It's very painful to look at. Why is that? What principles of design are being violated or not met? How about now? I tried to fix it. What principles did I try and modify? I tried to better apply the principles of repetition and alignment, but it isn't quite perfect yet. This is an example of how a document has been made more accessible. The reader can actually understand the information, but it isn't quite attractive yet. So I tried to edit again. How about now? Here I targeted balance by removing that awful yellow background. The slide is so much lighter and easier to look at. I was also more smart about contrast. I stayed within the same font family and utilized more subtle contrast like capitalization and bolding. This is a much better slide. Let's keep practicing. Here are some examples you can analyze. You could look at your textbook for principles of design and its format. Another thing you can analyze would be the album covers of your favorite band. What do you see going on in them? Lastly, you should look at infographics. The infographic tutorial will have several examples for you. The last part of the tutorial in this week's quiz will also ask you to critique an infographic using the concepts of elements of design or principles of design. Try applying the terminology and concepts of this video there. Before ending this video, I want to offer 2 questions. How might audience influence design? Would a movie poster look different if it was meant for kids, for adults? Would a paper in a science class look different than one in humanities? How does that impact things in design? Then, how might genre expectations influence document design? Why would a chem lab report have different document design expectations than a literature paper or a discussion board post? Keep these things in mind as you design your own graphic. You're not just designing for me. Think about the field of study that your project connects to. What would they want to see? What is valuable to them? The takeaway here is that you should use the principles to make something that is both attractive and accessible. Your next task after this video will be to complete the infographic tutorial. After that, you'll have everything you need to complete Project 2.